and then we eat all day long, and we don't pay attention to it, and we just keep shoving it in, and nighttime comes, and we lay down and put our head in the pillow, and all of a sudden it all comes back, and we think, what a pig. What a pig. What did I do? I overate. And then we do that day after week, after month, after year, after decade, trying to eat less, but not accomplishing it. How can we do it? By first having smaller plates, bowls, and glasses. Listen to Susan.
Yes, I have that problem. Hey, don't do that now, Susie. You're pregnant. You're eating for two.
Well, Painter says that choosing small can be as easy as downsizing all your plates, bowls, and glasses. So here's a look at the dinner plate that I normally use at home. It's huge. So I'm downsizing to this plate.
Okay. You know, we actually did that in our house.
Is it work?
Of course it works. Because
Yeah,
we have the same amount of food. It looks like it's full.
Absolutely.
He has some other great tips. He's such a funny personality, too. He said you should write everything down, right?
Yeah, he said if you start keeping track.
So I asked Susan. I came back for some reason 6 months later, and Susan Copen had lost 40 pounds. In 6 months. 40 pounds in 6 months? She said, well, 20 was the baby. But she said the other 20 pounds I lost in 6 months by doing these 5 things that I'm going to go through with you right now. And so that's the first one. Smaller plates, bowls, and glasses will help us to lose weight. And it's not just the size, but it's the shape. Even the shape of a container fools us. And so here's a little study that Brian Wansink did. And he took Crisco, M&Ms, and spaghetti with a small, medium, and large package. And the bigger the package, the more you took out of it. And so when we buy the big package of spaghetti, when we get it home, there's more there, and we take more out as a portion. So we've actually made part of our portion decision when we're in the grocery store. And so buy smaller packages at the store, and we'll eat less without knowing it. Stealth nutrition is what we're after. Eating less without knowing it. And he did this study with popcorn. Look how big those containers are. I don't remember if those are the big ones or the huge ones. But he had large buckets and extra large buckets. So when you gave people the extra large bucket, they ate about 90 grams. And then when you gave them, Okay, it's not here. But let me show you what it said. What happened in this was, in the fresh, when people had the large bucket, they ate about 60. When they had the extra large bucket, they ate 90. So they ate 50% more food when they had the large buckets. Now, the brown is the 10-day-old popcorn. How good is popcorn when it's 10 days old? How good is popcorn the next day? Is it kind of chewy and gummy? Has it lost its crispness? Yeah. And so this was 10-day-old popcorn. And what these people did is they ate about 40 grams of 10-day-old popcorn. When you gave them a bigger container, they ate 60. They ate 50% more with 10-day-old popcorn. And I went to Brian, I said, Brian, what happened here? And he said, with the really tasty popcorn, people had eaten all they could before the movie started. And they were full. And if you had a bigger container, you just ate more. And I said, but why did the people even eat the 10-day-old popcorn? He said they would take a big bite of it and go, yuck! And then they'd wait 5 minutes and they'd go and take another, oh, I forgot, ugh, still bad. And then wait 5 more minutes and take another, oh, still bad. And they'd wait 5 more minutes and go, oh, still bad. And he said they ate it all the way through the meeting, all the way through the video. And so the thing is funny here is, it tasted bad, and when they had a bigger container, each time they scooped more of it out. So even things we don't want to eat when we have a bigger container in front of us. So there's plates, bowls, glasses, and things. When we buy stuff in the store, we want to buy smaller containers. And then even the container we're sticking our hand into, the bigger the container. It's like, you know, you've got a bowl of candy sitting in the office, and people eat candy. And then it gets down like to 1 or 2 or 3 candies. Or it gets down to the last candy. Who eats it? Nobody. Because everybody's watching that last piece of candy. And so everybody's passing it by, and then someone picks up and goes, hey, you ate the last piece of candy! You know, I ate the last piece of candy. And so the less candy that's there, the less we eat. It's just, it's a weird phenomenon with us. So popcorn. He did the same kind of a study with glasses. He gave highball glasses and tumblers to these bartenders. Who should know better than how to pour than a bartender? And so this is what happened, though. When you had the tall glass, the inexperienced, the 5 years, they poured about right, a shot, 1.5 ounces. But when you had the short tumbler, they overpoured by about 0.75. And when you had the experienced bartenders, they still overpoured, but by not as much. So when you go to the bar, what do you want? Short, fat glass, come on. And who do you want? The new guy, that's right. Because they overpour. And so even the shape of a container determines how much we eat. Gee, do we have a chance here? You know, everything affects us so much. Here's me. Now you see this and this. I saw that, and one of my students said, that's really not her. And I said, it's got to be her. It's Shape Magazine. He said, it's not her. They got photos of her and brought it to me. And I said, are you kidding me? I can understand brushing up a picture, but not when it's called Shape Magazine on the front cover. And so that really ticked me off. If I had another lifetime, I would go out there and attack all these people that take women. So if young women want to look like her, that's not even a real body. It doesn't exist. And so if people want a body like that, it's going to be pretty tough to get there. Well, that's not my point. This magazine had a little article, and it said, the amount of food on a plate, whether it's one helping or four, is what most people consider a normal portion. That's exactly right. Be very careful. We must be very careful about what people set in front of us. Because when they put it in front of us, that is the portion we are going to eat. And so we have to be careful about the portion size. Okay, number 3, effective visibility. So plate size, glass shot, all that stuff is important. The shape is important. But visibility. I always wondered, you know, when Christmas comes and we have candy sitting on the table, how much more do we eat when it's right there in front of us? And we went to the literature and nobody had done any studies on it. So we did some studies on visibility and convenience. We took candy kisses and we put them on the desk, and these secretaries ate about 9. We put them in the desk and they ate 6. And so here's the difference. We moved them from right here to right here. We moved them down 4 inches into the drawer. And it cut what they ate by 30%. If you want to lose weight, how would you like to lose 30% and not know it? That's kind of amazing, isn't it? And then we made it inconvenient. They only ate about 3. Here's the inconvenient part. People had to stand up and get it. That decreased consumption by 60%. People are sitting there going, man, I would like a chocolate, but it's way up there. It's in the cabinet. And you walk in, hey, can you get that chocolate for me up there? It's just so hard to get to. It doesn't take much to make it inconvenient, and we'll eat less. You know, I wondered if this worked the same thing with healthy foods. So we did grapes, chocolate, carrots, and pretzels. We moved it from in the desk drawer to on the desk. And what happened was, grapes went up by about 17%, chocolate by 25%, carrots by 40%, and pretzels by about 27%. Why did it make so much difference with carrots? Easy? Here's what? Perceived as healthier? Here's what I think. How many of you at 4 o'clock in the afternoon said, man, I've been craving a carrot all day? Now, we do that with chocolate. We'll go out there and say, Kathy, I saw you had chocolate yesterday. You got chocolate today? No, you go to the next person, You seek out chocolate, but you don't seek carrots. And so, but if you want to eat more carrots, if the carrots are just sitting out there, so this is not really my talk, it's the reverse of my talk today. If you want to eat more of something that's healthy, then have it visible, have it convenient, and we will eat more. Seductive nutrition. Now, if I had time, I've got a whole talk on this, but I'm just going to bring up a couple of points here. One of my goals is, how do you get people to eat healthier? I get this talk on eating less, and they say, you just want people to eat junk food all day long? No. No, but nor do I want to be the police, because as a dietitian, have you run into this people? That as a dietitian, people think that we're the food police. Don't eat that, don't eat that, oh, don't eat that one either. Don't eat that one. That's bad, don't eat that one. And so they think we're the food police. And so the idea of restricting food doesn't work. If you restrict something, when you say, I am not going to have any more carbs, I'm on the Atkins diet, what do you think about that night? What do you dream about that night? The next morning you get up, do you want sausage? You want pancakes. And so when we restrict the food, we start craving it, and then when we break the craving, do we just have one piece of toast? No, we eat the whole loaf. And so dietary restriction of the foods doesn't really work. Seductive nutrition does, helps us eat better. And I have a couple of examples here. This is a chocolate shake. It's got avocado, milk, cocoa, Safer's Choice eggs, and 2 packets of Splenda. Now, my wife's mom ended up in the hospital. She broke her back. And then she got out and she wouldn't eat anything. And so I said, she loves chocolate. You know, if you give her chocolate, she'll eat chocolate. And so we started making her this chocolate shake. And I talked to, is Chip here? Chip's here. Chip's right back there. He's with National Pasteurized Egg. They are sponsoring my talk, and I've done some things with them. So his counterpart sent, because the town she lived in didn't have any eggs, and shipped her a whole bunch of these pasteurized eggs. Now what makes these things unique is that they're pasteurized in the shell. And so you have regular shell eggs that are pasteurized, so they're completely salmonella-free. And so here you've got Rose's mom, who's already got lots of issues, and you don't want to throw one more issue on the top by poisoning her with salmonella. So we have been, for the past, what, month? 2 months? Over a month now, making these shakes for her every day. And she gets fooled because she just loves chocolate. But, you know, give her a chocolate candy, she doesn't get anything. When I do this, she gets a high protein, lots of calories, without a whole bunch of sugar. And so, stealth nutrition, this is the idea. What I want to do is make food taste good, look good, and be good for you at the same time. And we call it seductive nutrition, we call it stealthy nutrition. Getting things into people by making it taste so good that they want to eat it and they don't know that it's good for them. So I have some things. I asked Chip, if you want to have more information about those eggs, you can ask him. But he's got a bunch of thumb drives up here with Rosie if you want them. I took them off of their table when they were done. And you're welcome to that. And there's some information here about these eggs too. And so they are really quite unique. They're kind of the only food. I haven't seen too many food people at this meeting. Are there two? I just walked through the things very briefly, but these things are wonderful. They fit in, and I use them all the time, especially with her mom. And then I've always loved eggnog, and then people say, oh, raw eggs, you can't eat raw eggs? Yeah, well, you can now. And so we've got these recipes with eggnog, and when Christmas time comes around, I just love it now, because we make eggnog with raw eggs that are pasteurized in the shell, so they're perfectly safe. So another, again, stealthy nutrition, make it taste good, look good, and people eat it. This is a chocolate torte that one of my students came up with, and it's so delicious. And I have eaten gluten-free for probably 13 years now, 14 years, because it almost killed me. And I'm alive, so I love it. But this student came up with this gluten-free cake. Now you notice there's no flour in it. It's made with almonds. It has coconut or not. You can have 1.5 cups of almonds. And it has a half cup of cocoa powder, soda, salt, and a cup of raisins as a sweetener with some dates and water. And then it has eggs in it. So it has protein. And it has a little bit of coconut on vanilla. It's like turning an entree into a dessert. What do I want people to eat a lot of? I want people to eat nuts, because it's one of the best things for you. If we have time to, I'll show you some things we've done today. The other thing I want people to eat more is dry fruit. Nuts and dry fruit. All this cake is nuts, dry fruit, eggs, and a little bit of chocolate cocoa. And cocoa is another good thing too. I have a talk on 10 foods that reduce heart disease. Cocoa powder is one of the best. When you have 2 tablespoons of cocoa, within 2 hours, your blood vessels dilate about 2%. And what's the chance of dying of a heart attack when your vessels are dilated? Less. So, this is kind of the quintessential stealth nutrition. Make it taste good. I've got a bunch of students that are hospitality students, and they don't care about nutrition. And they get a hold of this thing, and they start eating it, and they say, where's that cake? That's the special cake for the, the thing that really kills them. Call it dietetic. Call it diabetic, and people won't want to eat it. But the students are seeking this stuff out. Make it taste good, make it look good, and then make it good for people at the same time. And then, so again, here is just a good, healthy, baked egg kale. If you don't know, kale is the big rage right now because it is good for you. Finely chopped kale, putting it into something with an egg on it. Number 5, what you call something makes a difference. And so we did this study with Descriptive Labels. One time people got red beans and rice, and the next thing they got traditional Cajun red beans and rice. And then they had seafood fillet, and then they had succulent Italian seafood fillet. And then they had chocolate pudding, and then they had satiny Dutch chocolate pudding. And so this is what happened. When you gave them the plain name, people rated it as about 5.5. When you gave the descriptive name, they rated it as a 7.5. Now this should scare us as human beings, because these were the exact same foods, the exact same cooks making the food, the same students serving the food, and the same population of people eating the food. And the only thing that was different was the label on the thing that said what it was. And it made this much difference. We are swayed so easily by just what somebody says. I don't think I want that. It's good. Okay, I'll eat it. You know, we go for it by just what people say. Texture they thought was better, calories they thought were more. It made more of a difference with no label to label with main dishes than it did with desserts. Because if someone says, this is chocolate pudding, or you say it's Dutch chocolate pudding made by grandma's tender hands, then go, really, it's chocolate, I don't care. Just let me have it. But when we had fish, people said, I remember that fish you had last week. It was so dry. But succulent fish, why didn't you tell me it was succulent? I love succulent fish. And Italian is my favorite food. This succulent Italian fish is wonderful compared to that nasty fish we had last week. And it's the same fish with a little bit different name on it. Isn't that amazing how we can be fooled so quickly by just the name of something? And so the last thing, before I close it, is visual cues. And we did the ice cream experiment, and we already looked at that. But then we did this soup bowl experiment. This is what we found with the ice cream experiment the first time, and then we did it again on CBS, and it worked even better. And then we did this soup bowl experiment. When am I supposed to be done here? 5:45? 5:30. 5:30? Whatever. 5:45? I can't do that. Hey. So we had a table about this big. We had 2 bowls of soup here, 2 bowls of soup here, and a big pot. You could take more from the pot if you wanted. Nobody ever did. We let them sit down and eat all they wanted, and we recorded how much they ate. And then when they were done, we lifted up the skirt of the table and we showed them that these 2 bowls were being fed with a tube under the table from the pot. So every time they ate, it filled back up. They ate, it filled back up. It filled back up. There was this one kid that came in there and he ate so fast, he ate all that at the bottom. And he could see something moving. And he said, he could move his spoon back and forth, and he jumped up from the table, and I was across the room. He ran across and he said, Dr. Painter. I said, what? Come with me. What? There's something moving in my bowl. He grabs my arm. He takes me back to his bowl. By the time we got back, it had filled back up. And it wasn't moving anymore. And I said, just eat what you want. When he had finished, he ate over 4 bowls of soup. Oh. And I said, what are you trying to do? He said, I was just trying to finish my bowl. But to finish his bowl, he had to eat the entire 3/4 of the pot. And so there was these other 2 bowls here then that were just normal bowls. Who would think, I mean, who would even think that there's food being pumped into the bottom of your bowl? When we did this experiment, we actually won a Nobel Prize. Well, it wasn't a Nobel Prize. It was an Ig Nobel Prize. Does anybody know what an Ig Nobel Prize is? Anybody? It is, my best definition is this. It's the goofiest thing that happened in science that year that might actually have a value. And so Brian, who was the lead author on this little study, went to the whole thing and he won the Ig Nobel Prize. Here's what happened then. When we had the refillable bowl, people ate almost twice as much. They ate almost twice as much food. But when you asked them, how much do you think you ate? They thought that they ate about the same amount. So you're sitting here eating a bowl of soup, and the guy over here is eating 4 bowls of soup. And you look at it and go, we ate about the same amount. If you lose the visual cue that's telling you how much you eat, we're lost. And we lose track completely. So, visual cues, I think, are one of the most important things we can do, is be aware of things out there telling us how much you eat. This is, I think, a big solution, and I'm going to close with this. This is a study looking at self-monitoring. I had a guy many years ago, and he pulled a thing out of his pocket, and he wrote down on it what he ate and put it back in his pocket. I said, what are you doing? And he said, I just write down what I eat. And I said, why? And he said, it helps me lose weight. Really? How much have you lost? 95 pounds. 95 pounds? You kept it off for what, a week? No, for 5 years. 5 years? I said, what diet were you on? He said, I wasn't on a diet, I just wrote it down. I said, you must have done something else. He goes, no, I just wrote it down. And I said, you must have. He said, I just wrote it down. And so I went to the literature and I started looking, and there's all kinds of studies out there showing this. And so this is how well people wrote it down. Wrote it down poorly, better, best. And then this is a non-holiday week. If you wrote it down poorly, you gained weight. If you wrote it down better, lost weight, and if you wrote it down really well, you lost a lot of weight. And then it was during a holiday and you wrote it down in white, you gained weight. Wrote it down better, still gained weight. Wrote it down better, still gained weight. Wrote every single thing down before you ate it or just recorded it, lost weight even during a holiday. And I thought, I don't know if I believe that. So I looked, and there's all kinds of studies. Here's another one. And this just shows, this is the control group right here. And they said, we're watching you, so they lost weight. They forgot people watching them. The holiday came, they pigged out. Holiday ended, they kept pigging out until what time? New Year's Day. Yeah. You look at your pants and go, my pants don't fit, I'm a pig, what am I doing? And you stop eating. And so we stop eating, but look at this. We've already gained 2.5 pounds. And when we stop eating. This is the group that was writing things down. They lost weight, holiday came, they still lost weight, but not as much. Holiday ended, kept losing weight until they stopped writing it down and then leveled off. And so helping us keep track of how much we eat just by writing it down is an amazing tool. Here's what we talked about today. Shape of container makes a difference, visibility makes a difference, satiety levels and eating well makes a difference, food names make a difference, visual cues make a difference, and then choosing the right form of food and then tracking what you consume. That helps us to eat less. Now, are there any questions? If there are, I'll answer them. If not, I want to give you just 10 minutes of more healthy eating and ways of eating better.